For a closer look, let's bring in Jim Corridore, an analyst with S&P Capital IQ. He tracks the shipping industry, and he joins me now from his office here in New York. Jim, welcome back to Bottom Line. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Jim, the cuts being finalized now, they would include the closures of 252 out of 461 mail processing centers across the nation starting next April, and the elimination of nearly 30,000 jobs. On the heels of that news we received last week that the unemployment rate had dropped to 8.6%, can the economy afford to handle a hit of this size just when it seems that momentum is building?
Well, it certainly seems like it's going to add to the unemployment numbers, and it's not good for the overall economy. And that creates a vicious cycle where people have less money, so they ship less, so that creates worse drag on mail as well.
Jim, we noted that you cover the shipping industry. Talk to me a little bit about the jobs at the Postal Service. For a lot of people, you'd get a job at the Postal Service and you might be set for life.
Well, yeah, well, it's certainly not like that at their competitors, FedEx and UPS, where they are battling every day to compete, to make money for their shareholders, and they have a completely different business model where they make money, then their employees benefit with promotions, raises, and benefits. It's not the same way for the public sector.
What took the Postal Service so long to try to adapt to this business model that seemed to be so successful, as you point out?
Well, I think you spoke about a little bit earlier in your program that they're hamstrung by Congress. It's hard for them to make changes. They're slow to move. But yeah, certainly they have been easy to give market share away to companies like FedEx and UPS because customers do appreciate time-definite service. They do appreciate knowing their packages are going to get someplace on time. And the changes that are being announced today certainly are going to make the customer service experience much worse for letter shippers.
Jim, these service cuts, won't they just force customers to the internet and to private carriers? If people are paying their bills online and using carriers, as you point out, such as UPS or FedEx, how can the Postal Service expect to pick up in revenue in the future?
Right. I mean, the Postal Service is focused right now on cost savings, and what's really going to happen is that there's going to be more of a revenue loss because people who are already starting to realize that they can pay their bills online are now going to be almost forced to do so by the time-definite nature of the fact that they're not going to get their letters there on time. So that's going to increase the pace of migration towards online payment. At the same time, documents that do need to get someplace time-definite, that are tangible items like maybe pharmaceuticals or mortgage documents or legal documents, they will go increasingly by FedEx and UPS.
You point that out because for consumers who want that time-specific delivery, UPS and FedEx, they're going to be their options. How much more will consumers have to pay?
Yeah, it's definitely a much more pricey option, which is why people appreciate the price levels offered by the Post Office. But as you can see, it's not a price level that is able to eke out a profit, even for the U.S. government.
The U.S. government. And Jim, you just mentioned and correctly pointed out there's some politics involved in this because Congress does have a say in what goes on as the U.S. Postal Service. How much have the politics of this hamstrung the Postal Service?
Well, certainly. I mean, the postal tradition is ingrained in the psyche of every American. It's 6 days delivery, rain, sleet, or snow. One price point for every location in the United States. These are things that we all realize and appreciate. And obviously, expediting that is a lot harder to accomplish than it is to think about.
Jim Corridore, an analyst with S&P Capital IQ. He joins us from his office here in New York. Jim, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark.